The video assistant referee was brought into the game to help out the referee and to change clear and obvious mistakes. By now, however, the decisions made with the VAR seem to get worse each week. So is it actually ruining football more than it helps? Youcef and I discussed the never-ending issue. VAR, I think it's getting more ridiculous almost by the week. Like every week we have at least like I don't even know, maybe almost five or six, like so many incidents every week that everyone just cannot understand how this is happening, like how they would reverse a call or make a call. And yeah, it's especially like, yeah, I mean, in both leagues, like the leagues that I follow the most, like the Premier League or the Bundesliga, like each week you have cases that are just head scratching and you have no clue what happened.
Yeah, I agree. Like, for example, I follow a lot La Liga, and the refereeing out there is a bit crazy at times, especially a handball. Even if your hand is behind your back and it touches your hand, it's a penalty. So VAR, in that sense, yes. Uh, if you were to ask me if VAR was a good thing or not, I would say it is, but the rules are not. And there's been controversy since last year about changing these rules, and nothing has been done. And we're seeing now, as you said, every week, 5 or 6 incidents, and that's a lot. It's a lot, and it's great for press, I guess, because there's a lot to talk about in terms of what happens in a game. But in terms of football, I think it's ruining the game. And I just want to put the example of the Leeds game against Palace the other day with Patrick Bamford, where
that was ridiculous.
His goal was disallowed for having his arm out. So not even his foot or anything; it was just his arm. So what is he meant to run with his arms by his side?
Yeah,
so
because like I always thought
yeah,
like the general premise of offside is like whenever there's like a body part offside where you can actually score a goal with, then you're supposed to
yeah,
be offside, right? So, but obviously he's not allowed to score a goal with his arm, so why would that be offside?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that because of that decision, it ruined the game, because Leeds could have been 2-0 up. And if they would have been 2-0 up, it could have been a completely different game. But it turned out to finish 4-1 to Palace. So you can see how these decisions are actually affecting the actual matches itself, not just the game in general. And it's just crazy that even that same weekend, the last one, we saw in the Leicester game, where it touched the arm of someone. I forgot who it was. I think Kilman. And like, what's the rule? You know, where you cross the ball and it touches your hand. Like, it wasn't that far away. He was about 2 meters away. Like, what's he meant to do while he's running, trying to block the shot? Where's he meant to put his arms? You know?
Yeah, it just seems like the handball rule, like it gets interpreted differently almost every game. Like
Yeah,
the whole rule is just confusing. And the thing is, like without VAR, you just have one referee that then kind of had to make the decision. Okay, does he think this is now handball or not? But then if you have
yeah.
the VAR, there's basically a second guy that just has the same difficult question and confusion about now is that handball or not? Just
Yeah, it's
that's what,
crazy how the person managing VAR then has to tell the referee, look, I'm not sure. And then he needs to go over to the screen and look to see if he thinks it's a handball or not. And in that same weekend, we saw it again with the Man City Liverpool game. The same thing happened. Literally, exactly the same. The cross comes in about 2 meters out, his arms out, Gomez's arms out, and it's a penalty.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know because, for example, that Leicester game, going back to the Leicester game, that was the only thing that decided the match. It ended 1-0. You know, it was that penalty. So yeah, some of these VAR decisions, they're really affecting the game. And
And I
I
mean,
just want to,
yeah,
yeah, go on.
when it came out, like at first when the VAR came out, like the rule was, okay, like we're gonna use VAR whenever there's like a clear and obvious mistake being made. But like I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure it's been overused. Like I read like there was a statistic apparently until like last April in the Premier League, and like basically in the season 2019-2020 until April, the Premier League used it 275 times. And the
Yeah, that's
Serie A, who was the second highest, only used it 111 times. So that's clearly just way overused in the Premier League. Like,
yeah. That's it's crazy how much is being used, and to think before VAR there used to be little controversy really, because it'd be something that the refs miss, by a slight margin. You rarely see as much as now all these situations. So it's crazy how VAR has been influential in the game, and I think VAR is personally I think is brilliant, because there's some things where the naked eye you miss them, and but the problem I'm seeing is the rules, and each league has their own rules. Champions League has its own rules as well, which is for me it's just crazy how they're all managed. So yeah, I just wanted to say as well. I saw something where the Premier League table up to now, if VAR wasn't, if we weren't with VAR right now, it shows that Liverpool would be top of the league. Tottenham will be second, Leicester would be third, and then Man United would be 15th. So it shows how how many times Man United they've used VAR, especially in terms of penalties.
yeah, I mean
So if it wasn't
they're getting a penalty
yeah,
almost every game because of VAR, basically. So far.
exactly. So it shows if it wasn't because of VAR, they would be in 15th place. So it shows how much VAR actually has an influence in the Premier League. So yeah, that it's just crazy.
Yeah, and for example, when you look at the Bundesliga as well, like the VAR has now been in the league, I think, for 3 years, and each season, like numbers of times it intervened or it has been used has increased, and
Yeah,
also each year it increased like the amount of time the referee actually needs to make a decision, because
yeah,
that's ridiculous. I mean, that's just annoying too. Like you're watching a game and then VAR chimes in and says like, yeah, the ref needs to look at it, and then it takes like
yeah,
2 3 minutes or even longer
yeah,
until
yeah.
finally makes a decision. Like
Yeah,
that's
because we're seeing even at the end of games they're adding on 7 minutes.
yeah,
It's crazy. Like this never happens before. That in the past, before VAR, whenever you get that amount of minutes additional time, it's usually because of an injury or a big incident that has happened. But to get it just because of VAR, because the guy in the VAR room doesn't know what it is, so the referee needs to go up to it. Then he takes another minute to look at it. It's just it's crazy. And yeah, you were talking about Bundesliga, and obviously it was a Klassiker the other day between Bayern and Dortmund, and Lewandowski could have had a hat trick, but he had two goals disallowed in that game, and it's crazy as well how it would have been different if those goals would have gone in. Then Dortmund, like Bayern Munich, would have basically thrashed Dortmund instead of actually, yeah, beating them only by a little bit. So yeah, it's crazy how influential it has been across all Europe and across the world, really.
yeah. I mean, in my opinion, like it is a good thing, like if it's really been used for like clear and obvious mistakes, like for a clear like handball that a ref doesn't see, or like a red card that a ref doesn't see, and it's like a really brutal
Yeah,
foul. But like there's no point of like when you get out the tape measure and then like draw the lines, and
yeah,
then because of, I don't know, like a millimeter or even less, you call it offside, or with the Bamford,
yeah.
then that's just gonna ruin the game.
That reminds me of the Liverpool incident against Everton, where they could have won the game in the last, in the ending, in the can't even in the ending of the match, and you see Mane where he's basically offside because of his armpit. I think it was literally crazy how it was, like you said, a millimeter. How Liverpool could have gone away with that win, but just because of that incident, like Mane being a millimeter offside, it was called off, and yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they definitely need to just rework the whole thing. Like the idea is there, and like, but just the rules itself don't seem clear. Or as long as there's no like one set rule for maybe every league or like every football game, it's always going to be confusion. And they just need to stop with the
Yeah,
whole like armpit or arm thing too. Like just look where the feet are, and if the feet are behind like the ball or like with the head as well, like then it's not offside. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And I can't remember what it was, but I remember it was United. I don't know if it was against Newcastle, but do you remember when that Fernandez incident and the ref already blew the whistle, and then they were saying no, it's a penalty, and then they looked at VAR and it was a penalty, it was a handball, um, and then they actually made him take the penalty after the final whistle was blown. Like that's bizarre. Like
Mm.
things like that happened. You know, back before VAR, once the whistle's blown, that's it. The match is over. But like, how isn't there a rule which, you know, it's allowed the referee to go look at VAR, award the penalty after he's already ended the match, and then Man United go away with the points. You know,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, there's also like
you
these
know,
incidents where something's happening, like, and everyone kind of thinks, yeah, VAR is gonna chime in and like say something, but then you have to, like, the ref has to wait until the ball gets kicked out of bounds the next time,
yeah.
so that could take a few minutes too, and then it's just confusion. Like, what happens if the decision gets overturned? Like, so what if then the other team would have scored a goal in the time that VAR has to look at a penalty incident on the other end? Like, what happens then? Does the goal just not count? And yeah, just
Yeah, yeah, it's ridiculous. They need to go back through the rules, and this was something that they spoke about a year ago, exactly a year ago. Last year, the Premier League said they're going to revisit their rules. They've revisited them, and I think they've actually made them worse by any uh, any chance. Because if we look at, for example, not to do with VAR all the time, but the offsides, they blow the whistle really late. The flag goes up, like we can see it's offside, and they let the guy dribble past everyone, score, and then tell it, and then put the flag up. You know, I think that's ridiculous. The like before, they used to blow the whistle straight away when it's offside, but now they just let the play continue and then blow the whistle, which I think is crazy. So yeah, they definitely need to revisit their rules because it's damaging the game. People are not enjoying it really, and like VAR helps a lot, but it's not great. Let's be honest, it's not at its best moment.
yeah, I mean, VAR helps a lot, but as long as the rules aren't like worked over or worked on, like VAR is only making things worse because everyone basically gets to see each mistake like
Yeah,
every week because it's just, yeah, kind of
everyone's
televised.
got a different opinion. You know, some people might say that's a handball, other people say no because it's ball to hand. You know, where's he meant to put his hand? So it brings that problem. You know, it makes more confrontation, more controversy. You know, between this and it's just yeah, I think it's just the rules. The rules. They need to look back because, like you said before, every week we're getting incidents. You know, and this is it's not really helping the game if that's what it's doing.